Hello, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in and sharing in this now moment with myself, with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome. Welcome back. If you have, my intention is unity and oneness and the highest levels of love light. Just gonna go into a little flow. Just taking a nice long inhale and a nice long exhale. And the energies are zooming around us. Can you feel them? Can you feel them as they flow, as they quell, as they quill, as they are written in the words and the communication and forms that we are communicating within? For as this information comes in, cones in, floods our senses, so to speak, we allow that which was senseless to fall away. For we are going at such a fast pace, if you will, a high rate of speed, a high ratio. All that we have experienced is merely a reflection of distortions, of introspection, of illusions, of disillusion, of all that has been. We are now seeking to flow into a higher space of has been. For that which has been reflected is now being deflected, is being resolved, is being, I'm hearing that which has been inflicted is being flicked. So many are going to feel stirred up, for there is a stirring of the senses, if you will. That which has been created to distort is going to feel sometimes as if we are distraught. Yet this has been what we have been taught. We are being invited to allow that which we have learned to flush, to be flushed, to flush it out the window, so to speak, so that we may open the window and see through the fog, see through what has been fogging our senses, so to speak, getting into clear-mindedness. With the crows joining us. Kine amokuate, tishtawa kutena punatia ukuya. Kia unukuya. We're clearing up those distortions that have created a patchwork of ununiformity, so to speak. Yet we are truly informed in our own information, for we are accessing a cache, if you will, of intermingling, co-mingling, an internet, an inner web of connectivity. And as we do this, we see through the green screen. We see through all that has been projected into our view. We allow ourselves to see with clarity in a new view, through a new lens, through a new framework. We have spoken of this before. We are being invited to see that time is merely an illusion that we are now sidestepping. We have stepped out of the ensnarement, if you will. Many of us are co-mingling, co-founding, co-creating with new objectives, not objectifying that which has been beyond. So what I'm seeing is we were putting up on a pedestal, we were objectifying certain linear things. We've been focused on a lot of distortions, and these distortions are essentially being cleared. And as we clear these distortions, certain distortions within us are brought up as well. And what I'm seeing is as these distortions are brought up within our view, we can then wipe, as my friend Candace was saying, the slate clean. So it's basically where we had a window that we were looking through that was dirty. Now, rather than cleaning the window and looking through that same window, we're clearing that window completely, stepping through it into a new open window, a portal. So we're in some sort of portal. We are walking portals, but we're walking into a whole new framework, meaning our reality is now accessible on such a deeper level than we had not only had access to before, but from the old view, we never would have seen it, if that makes sense. And this isn't for everybody. This is just a generalized message, meaning some people have seen it, some people are seeing it, some people saw it a long time ago. But because of where we're at in time, space, reality, so to speak, we're actually able to see things completely different than we would have been able to see things 5 years ago. So it's not just because we've changed, it's because our entire construct in reality has changed from what I'm being shown. And essentially we're deconstructing that which was originally constructed to be placed as barriers. And we've broken through this time capsule is the message that's been coming through. And as we break through this time capsule, we allow ourselves to break through the barriers that were holding us back. I also keep hearing the blood-brain barrier, like a lot of things we're interacting with in such a way within our physical components that are essentially going to allow us to keep shifting, to keep expanding. And as we allow ourselves to access all of this influx of information as it floods our senses, we have a heightened sense of awareness. We have a heightened sense for compassion. We have a heightened sense for freedom. And we allow ourselves to basically play with these words a little bit. Get rid of that which was senseless, things that destroy the senses, so to speak. Not only lack of compassion, not having the sense and sensibility, the ability to sense things. Like many of us are going to start sensing things on a whole other level. And I'm being guided to talk about that for a moment. Sorry about the wind. Oh my goodness, it's beautiful. Sorry, not sorry. But basically that the senses are heightening. So people are going to feel more sensitive, if that makes sense. So all of us are empaths. A lot of times people say, well, I'm an empath. We're all empaths. The first step is becoming aware that we're empaths. And the second step is really inviting ourselves to ask, who does this belong to? Whose energy is this? And not take it on as our own. And so it's a matter of what I'm hearing is creating with our empathic abilities. So being an empath isn't just about us saying I'm an empath, therefore everything is, I'm emotional. It's going to that next step and saying, why am I emotional? What is it that I'm feeling? Am I feeling emotions that I haven't processed? Am I feeling someone else's emotions that they haven't processed? And if so, that is not my responsibility to process their emotions for them. So we can clear that energy. But again, it comes back to us acknowledging that that's what's happening. So with this heightened senses and awareness that many people are activating and coming online with, it can also create more distortions. So that's why it's even more important to clear those distortions so that we can see clearly, so that we can feel clearly. And when I say feel clearly, it's not just a physical feeling, a gut feeling, a heart flutter. It's also intuition. A feeling is an intuitive impulse, so to speak. So we're really being invited to utilize our intuitive impulses and step out of impulsiveness. So react with kindness, but it's not just react. It's be aware and react from a place of higher knowing. It's being aware and reacting, not reenacting. So not enacting the same habit patterns over and over again. Or what I'm hearing is developing new old habit patterns. So rather than creating a new pattern to fall into, a trap, an entrapment, we stop and we say, I'm not going to just be, again, it's that not guiding our own ship and not being tossed by the waves. So there's a lot of energy coming in. So rather than these waves of energy just tossing us to and fro, really get into the driver's seat. Really sit with it and ask ourselves, who does this belong to? Why am I feeling this way? And if we're not sure, just allow that emotion to wash through. And what I'm hearing with non-attachment, we don't have to attach to the reason. We don't have to attach to the emotion. We don't have to say, well, I am a sad person, or it's not about that anymore. It's recognizing that I can be, I have moments that I feel this way, but that doesn't have to be attached to my identity. And in doing this, I have this beautiful bird that's just singing away. In doing this, it helps us to detach from this, what I'm hearing is pulse of emotions. So there is this energy that is pulsating through our world right now. And it's a multitude of energies. And so everybody responds in their own way. Yet if we can come from a place of compassionate action for ourselves and for others, it will not be as tumultuous of a ride. So again, it's kind of like a surfer surfing the waves rather than just getting tossed around, finding a way to ride it out in somewhat of a balanced way. And I'm hearing some of the things may need to be internalized in order to be realized. So sometimes that means we have to process things before we talk about it. Although sometimes it's the other way around, to talk about things in order to process them. But take a moment and internalize it a bit, take it within, is what I'm hearing, rather than just blowing up the social media or reacting. Again, that's the other thing, is internalize it, process it, and then if you feel like you still need to talk about it, find like-minded beings who maybe you can connect with in order to process the emotions that are being felt. And I'm hearing, rather than the group that's just going to stir it up. So there are groups that are identified with their emotions so much, or being a certain, whatever their box is, whatever their label is, whatever their category is, that their processing is going to be very tumultuous. So again, if we can find that stability and balance, we won't feel, and I'm being guided to play with internalize. It isn't about internalizing it and letting it eat away at us. That's an old paradigm. I can't talk about it. Nobody understands what I'm going through. Being that I'm just going to take it like a man or woman, right? That's a label, man. I have to be tough. This has to do with divine masculine. So what I'm hearing is internalizing doesn't mean what we think it does. It means go within to realize, internal realization. This allows us to unfold with more maturity. I'm hearing it's like a good wine. Sometimes you have to let it mature before you can drink it. So that's kind of one of the messages that's coming through, is there's a lot that we're all processing right now. There's many people who are remembering things they've forgotten, thought they didn't need to pay attention to, or is coming up. So it can be a very tumultuous time. So the more we can allow ourselves to reflect and go within, the less we're likely to deflect. That's what I was hearing in the beginning of this message, right? We're deflecting it. Now that's a play on words too. It's not like we're avoiding it and pushing it back on someone else. But by us coming to our own internal scope, it allows us to deflect other people's debris. Because it's a giant debris field, is what I've been shown in this debriefing. So we're getting a lot of information, but a lot of other people's crap that they haven't dealt with is also flooding the senses. So it can be a sensory overload for a lot of people who aren't sure how to balance it. So again, it's just keep ourselves in check in. with ourselves. What do we need? What am I feeling? What would make me feel good right now in a balanced and harmonious way? And then follow that bliss, because that will help us, what I'm hearing is, keep the charge, not lose the charge. So Dan Winters talks about it's pain, right? Pain is a loss of charge. It's like a leak. So if we have all this stuff that we're internalizing, sorry, my nose itches, we're not allowing ourselves to, we're keeping it within, it's going to blow, it's going to explode. And then we have all this debris in our debris field that then clutters everybody else's debris fields as well. On the flip side, if we do the opposite and we just explode, react, without going internal to realize what it is that we're reacting to or why we're reacting to it, that then clutters our field and everybody else's. So it works both ways. It's finding that harmony. So sometimes if you haven't talked to anyone, it's time. If you are talking constantly about your problems, it might be time to go within a little bit and find out why this is always coming up for you. And this is different for everyone, because we're all on our own individual journey, which is part of this beautiful experience that we're having together. So I'm just going to finish. Oh, deflection. So I'm hearing reflect to deflect. So going within allows us to see the reflection of what's being shown to us, what is ours, what isn't ours. But also when we deflect something, we're not taking it on as our stuff. We're saying, here you go, that's not mine, you can have that back. That is not my responsibility to take on your trauma, your unhealed drama. And this has to do with being an empath. This has to do with being a lot of things. It has ego with it. You know, sometimes it makes us feel better to work on somebody else's problems, right? Oh, I'm going to fix their problem. And then we're not ever focused on our own journey. And that's a big thing that's coming up for a lot of people right now. And we're being invited to say, okay, that doesn't belong to me. It doesn't mean that we're deflecting it and throwing it off and ignoring it. Sometimes we can acknowledge, oh, I'm trying to fix this person, and then acknowledging it's because I don't really want to fix myself, or I don't know what to fix, or I'm trying to help this person because I want to be able to control that outcome. I want to feel like I have control over this particular situation or outcome. So that would be an example of, okay, now I recognize I'm trying to control this scenario. So many different. So let me go back into light language, and then I'll end on this note. We're constantly realigning ourselves and reassessing ourselves and lining up with a higher trajectory. Oftentimes we will get pulled off course, and this is, of course, part of our course, charting our own course using our own mapping system. We then recognize whose courses we have been charting for them. We then recognize who has pulled us off course, and we also recognize that we are, so much just came in. I'm seeing a reference to when you chart your own course, when you go off course, you then recognize that that isn't a road you want to take. So it does help create our own mapping system, and we can write on the map, wrong way, dead end road, right? And many have come to a dead end in their path, yet they have I'm seeing people come to a dead end street and then just hitting their head against it, like, where do I go? Like a robot who can't quite, they just keep trying to power through it. And we can recognize that we never necessarily had to go down that course in the first place, or we don't have to do it any longer. Cut off the loose ends. They know they're flapping in the wind. Tie them back together and create a beautiful shape out of this entanglement, out of this puzzle, out of this commitment. I'm seeing that many feel committed to an outcome that holds no victory, or they are committed to victory and committed to outcomes, when in actuality it is about the process of the journey, of the charting, of the territory, and the experience. That this creates our so much. Te aia ha kuene te e tukuana. Iasto kua he enet e kuia hat e enet ikina kua hena kua washtawa hetana eshtana. Here's where we chart our course. Getting out of our heads. I'm hearing get out of our head to get ahead. And it's not about getting ahead of ourselves. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's be present with what's going on right now, because this is the juice. What we're processing is the juice. And once we unpack that, I'm hearing once we unpack that, we unpack our baggage. We become lighter. We loosen the burden. We let it go. We let go of the burden, the need for victory, the need for the outcome, and then victory will be achieved in that moment. So I'm just gonna send a lot of love, a lot of big hugs. I know it's some tumultuous energies going on for a lot of people, and we're all going through this shift in our own way, and we're all helping each other in our own ways. In love and light, namaste.